Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here once again alongside Jabberwocky, and we are bringing you Set 2 of the MSL Final Series between Hydra and Great. The first set was quite entertaining, a longer set with Great winning at Hive Tech, definitely winning at Hive Tech, winning with some swarms and some lurkers and some solid play there from Great, getting a lot of bases and taking down Hydra. And we'll see whether or not he's able to do that again here at Set 2 or throughout the rest of the series. I think most people expected him to win at least one Hive game in this series. I know I did, and personally I'm also expecting him to lose one Hive game where he tries to go Hive when he shouldn't, and Hydra makes him pay. I'm predicting that sometime for this series. I think he'll pay for it once. So that's just a personal guess for me. We did see some good micro, some good strategy from Hydra, and some mistakes from Great as we move forward. So we'll see how both these players are dealing with their jitters, and if they can possibly solidify their play and their strategies here on Set 2.
Yeah, honestly, I just think that Hydra definitely has the better micro. He really shouldn't be worried. He did lose the first set, but he doesn't need to panic. There was some slip up in micro from Great, and the game's not going to go to Hive every single time, so I think he's definitely okay. And before we get into the game too much, I just want to say these intros are freaking awesome. They always pick awesome music. They're just awesome. And me and my SCD2 friends were getting together, and we were like, you know what? That's why Brood War is so big over there. It was because they have awesome intros.
That's really funny. I tend to agree that the intros are awesome. They tend to pick out really good music. There's whole threads about how about downloading music because it is so good. But here we go. We are starting on Set 2. This looks like it's going to be Circuit Breakers. We got Hydra in the top left in purple if they don't change the colors like they did last time. Yes, there he is. And then in the bottom left we have Great. So in a lot of other matchups, this is a big macro map. It's a lot of bases, a lot of gas expansions. Kind of a long rush distance. They're at near positions right now, but yeah, if you were at cross positions, you know it is big enough of a map. So we'll see what happens. If one of these guys decides to go 12 hatch, we are going to have Great once again getting the scouting advantage, sending his Overlord in the correct position, and Hydra, unfortunately, sending his in the incorrect position. So we'll see whether or not Great can use that knowledge advantage in the early game to maybe try and take an advantage, sneak a couple drones in if he's gonna do something like that. We do see that a lot, where if you see exactly how many Zerglings your opponent produces, you can actually produce a drone to try and sneak one in. So we'll see what he decides to do with that advantage.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Great's going to get this Overlord advantage, and I don't think people understand how much of an advantage it is to scout your opponent first, just because he's going to know exactly what his opponent's doing. And in ZVZ, where the build orders are huge, build orders are really, really big. I don't want to say build orders are everything, but build orders are definitely a huge part of ZVZ, and just knowing what your opponent is doing is such a key aspect of the game. It looks like we have more drones coming out after that Overlord, so we're not going to see anything like a 9-pool or an in-base hatchery for Great yet again. So he's really kind of committing to this in-base hatchery type play, and we see the hatchery at the expansion for Hydra, and so a little bit of deviation early on.
Yeah, it looks like he's actually he's got a plan here. If he's doing the same thing, you know, it's an interesting plan. Get out a lot more Zerglings than your opponent, put some pressure on, force him to kind of play defensively, then counter by building your own spore colonies and play defensively yourself, and then try to take it to Hive. That's what he did last game. He might try to do the same thing, and it gives you two windows to win the game. One is right when you have all those Zerglings off of your 3 hatches, or if he sticks here on 2, we might see that as well. It could be a deviation from that. And the second is also the point once you get to Hive. But kind of in the mid game, you're really sacrificing a lot. We did see Great do some damage in the mid game, catching Hydra with his Mutalisk out of position, but that was almost more of a just catching Hydra by surprise more than anything else. He didn't have more Mutalisk. He wasn't going to win that fight even with the upgrade, and he knew it, so he backed off. But definitely interesting here. If this is going to be kind of his methodology of getting to Hive, does Hydra have a plan to counter? Does he have a plan of how to stop it? Can he make up a plan while he's sitting here in the booth and while he's actually playing these games?
And I don't think that Great knows where Hydra is. I think that he got his Overlord to the middle and realized that Great's Overlord wasn't going south, and he just moved to the middle of the map to try to intercept the Overlord from Hydra. So I don't think he scouted exactly where Hydra is at the moment. He is putting down another hatchery at his natural, but this is really interesting. Now he sees that Overlord coming in from that hatch position. He's going to know where Hydra is now. Hydra looks like he's sending down Zerglings from the north to the southern position. He might be slightly ahead. Don't know if he saw that extra Zergling go through there, but now Great's going to have to back up and put on a little bit of defense of his own.
Yeah, definitely. We have a creep colony already coming up from Hydra a little bit earlier than you would have really expected. Yeah, he does have that third hatchery for Great, but I think he could have probably delayed on that hatch if he wanted to. I think he was just really afraid that maybe this was a even more of a devoted early pool build than he saw. So a little bit of game sense there from Hydra, but a little bit of a missed game sense. I don't think he needed them yet, although I could be wrong because it does look like there are a lot of Zerglings coming out for Great, so maybe he was skimping on some Zerglings. It does look like he has a pretty good saturation, Hydra does, on his mineral line, so that looks like he might have been skimping on some Zerglings. The Sunken Colony is going to be enough to repulse these Zerglings from Great and force him to back off, and we're kind of heading into kind of a stalemate where Great can't really press in and Hydra can't really press out until those Mutalisks arrive.
Yeah, and it looks like we have one drone on gas for Great, and meanwhile, I think full saturation on that gas from Hydra. He did only have one drone on there at first, but he is going to have his lair a little bit faster, and he's just going to have more income because he went for that natural expansion first. And I think that putting down that Sunken, very, very good idea. He is able to skimp on a little bit of Zerglings, put up his defense, and he's going to be able to output just more Mutalisks. That Zergling from Great earlier on was really, really good because it did see the layer timing, it did see how many drones were on gas. At that time there was only one, but just really, really good scouting from Great there. It looks like Hydra's coming in, might be able to get off a surround on these Zerglings. Zerglings backing up for Great, and looks like Hydra just wants to kind of kick him out of his base pretty much, make sure he doesn't get contained too much, and more Zerglings on their way, I believe.
I think one of the things for Hydra in this game is I bet you he's been preparing for some sort of chicanery by Great, for lack of a better word. So he had more Zerglings, but he backed off. Maybe he was surprised that there weren't as many Zerglings, or he may have been suspecting that there was a Zergling group in another position that was going to try and bypass him. And you can kind of see him playing a little bit more timidly with with his Zerglings because of his he does know that he has less production. He's getting that third hatchery though, so he's going to try and even it up. And here comes a Zergling attack from Great, actually attacking into the concave and the Sunken Colony. This does not look like a very wise decision to me, and I think he might end up paying big time for it. He doesn't have spore colonies up either, so Great is losing on every single front, losing in his main, losing in his attack, losing drones, and this game is just about over. Already this game is just about over. Losing all those drones, losing all those Zerglings, it's just a matter of Great finishing it off and just playing standard now. It is basically done. It's just a matter of time. That's just too much damage done too quickly, and I hate to call a game too early, but that was a ton of drones and a ton of Zerglings lost. I can't see him. I can't see Great making up all of that damage back in this game.
Yeah, really, all Hydra needs to do is just build a ton of Zerglings and overtake this. He also could go for Mutalisks. Really, he could do anything as long as he doesn't just sit back and let Great back into this game and macro up, because he just took out like 4 or 5 drones, and that might not seem a lot, but in Workers and ZVZ, that is so much. Well, I guess Zerg in anything, because that's larva you have to use on drones and not units, but in Zerg versus Zerg, that's especially terrible. And here comes Great trying to go for last ditch effort. GG's. But that's on him, because he should have seen the layer timing. He should have known that his layer was going to be really delayed, and should have just made spores a lot earlier.
Yeah, poor execution by Great. He didn't produce as many Zerglings as he did in the first game. It didn't seem like when he went for that pressure attack, I mean, it really took 2 Sunken Colonies for Hydra to defend. 1 Sunken Colony was enough this time, and he missed it. He just straight up missed his spore timing. It's kind of like when a Terran player misses your turret timing. It's the same thing. If you don't have them up in time to fight Mutalisks will kill you, and that's exactly what happened this game. Hydra winning it just based on the mistiming of Great.
Yeah, he kind of did 2 really not smart things. He went for a later layer, and he went for the in-base hatch, but he didn't make the Zerglings. So it just doesn't make sense. He was trying to do both, I think, and just get his economy really, really high, but it just doesn't work out like that. You can't really do both. You have to do either one or the other.
Yeah, definitely. If you're going to go for that push, go for the push, yeah. Definitely in ZVZ, you kind of have to commit to something. It doesn't really lend itself to kind of wishy-washy play.
And I mean, like I said before, Hydra doesn't need to be worried. He has superior micro. I mean, it's been shown time and time again. And I'm expecting him to take this series. Really, what Great's going to have to do is he's going to have to keep doing the same strategy, I believe, and either make that Zergling push or try to go up to just do a contain and try to go up to Hive, because at Hive play, that's where he's more comfortable, I believe, in this matchup for the time being, just because he's probably practiced it more, wants to push the game in that direction, and it's not looking too great for him because I don't think he's going to get to Hive that often.
Alrighty, well that's it for set 2. We'll be heading on to set 3. We'll see what Great has in store for us. He has lost this game, and the series is tied 1-1 as we head on to set 3. We'll see you all there.